Hey everybody, welcome back to I Told My Wife I'm Paying Bills. I'm Slim.
And I'm black. It has been a while.
It has been, yes, it has definitely been a while. So, just for context, everyone, we didn't have any issues or anything like that. It was summertime, so Black did some traveling. I had to do some traveling. I did a little bit for work and everything like that, but it was summertime. We should have kind of gave y'all a heads up. Um, and I think next time that we're gonna take some time off, we'll probably try to give y'all a heads up so y'all don't think something happened or like, oh my gosh, they got tired or whatever. No, we're gonna keep doing this as long as we can. Even if we don't have that many listeners, we enjoy this. This is really fun. Well, I say it like this. I enjoy this, Black. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, there you go. So, we both enjoy this. So we're gonna keep doing this as long as we can, and we'll try to keep y'all updated and let y'all know. I will try to at least put it on our Instagram or our Facebook page if we're going to take some time off, if we're going to miss the episodes. But we're going to try and do 2 episodes a month. So just expect that. And if you don't see an episode come out, there might be something that popped up. And if I didn't kind of let y'all know, then it's probably because that, I just didn't have a chance to or had time or whatever. Okay. So that being said, we're definitely back. And today's episode is kind of interesting because we kind of tapped on a little of this in previous episodes, and Black came up with the idea. So let's go ahead and just take a deep dive in. So today we're going to be talking about fighting games, and like I said, the kind of tapped on it was we talked about Street Fighter, we talked about Mortal Kombat and Injustice and all that. So um, basically, we like I know for me, I've been playing fighting games for years since like I want to say high school. No, it was after high school. No, it was high school. Yeah, yeah, um,
Definitely.
yeah. Because the first fighting game that I remember playing is the first one that most people played was Street Fighter 2. And before Street Fighter, the actual game Street Fighter came out before Street Fighter 2, but I played Street Fighter 2 before Street Fighter. And I think that was because um it was on this Super Nintendo, or was it Nintendo? It
It was on It was
came
on
out
Super
Super
Nintendo.
yeah, it came out Super Nintendo first. So,
Mhm.
Black, what's the first fighting game that you remember?
Same fighting game, buddy.
Mhm.
Street Fighter 2. Didn't play Street Fighter 1. I believe that was more of an arcade thing.
Right.
But by the time I got into Street Fighter, it was on Nintendo's Super NES,
Mhm.
and I fell in love with that game. So
Well,
that's the first game I played
It's
as
and
far as
it's
fighting.
so funny that you say that about Street Fighter being more of an arcade game because I grew up kind of a semi arcade kid. I wasn't one of those kids that would get dropped off at the arcade or go to the arcade, ride my bike, take the bus, whatever, to the arcade, and then stay there all day. However, whenever I would go to our mall, I would, hop up into the tilt and I would be playing as long as I could till we had to leave or whatever, whatever. Or, there was a couple times where I did go to the mall just to go to tilt. But I I wasn't like some of those arcade rats that you would see that just loved it and spent all day there. And those cats, I admired those cats because like they locked in on those games. Like they really those were hardcore gamers. Those are probably some of the
Oh yeah.
people who have some of the dopest PC setups right now, and
Hmm.
I'm envious of. So um, but, so as far as arcade goes, though, how were you into arcades? Like, did you actually go to any, or you just only, like, randomly, like, occasionally visit them?
Well, where I grew up, there was a store called Kid Chocolate.
Mhm,
So that was the official name, but that's what everybody called it in the neighborhood. But inside Kid Chocolate, there was an arcade in the back.
okay.
He had like three or four games.
Mhm,
I can remember them like they were yesterday. One was Twin Eagle,
mhm,
one was Double Dragon,
mhm,
and there was a couple other two that I didn't play. But Twin Eagle Double Dragon is one I played. So most of my any of my arcade, experience that comes from those stores that were down there in the eastern area of Newport News.
mhm,
So in the two stores that was in my neighborhood, and I would
Right.
just go and just play. Every so often I go to the mall,
Mhm.
but most of my arcade comes from that.
So being where you were, did you come all the way up to the Uptown Mall, or were you, going to, like, Coliseum, or did you go to, like,
Coliseum.
Newmarket and Coliseum?
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
I
alright.
didn't start going to Patrick Henry until I moved to the Denby area.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and just for context, everyone, um, today will be is gonna be a remote call. Black is actually in the man cave. I'm in the bat cave. So, yeah, we had to do that remote call today, but it's actually I kind of found a way to kind of clear it up a little bit. So hopefully, it still sounds like we're in the same room.
well,
All right.
speaking of Batcave,
Hmm.
did your wife let you build that secret interest yet?
Nah, man, it's not
I'm
gonna
waiting
happen.
for her to let you build a secret
It's
interest.
not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because she probably is never gonna see me. I'll just keep entering the house through the secret entrance. That's all. But you know what though? I'm actually lucky that she gave me the one with the blue walls, because the other rooms are a little bit smaller and I can't put all my nerd stuff up there. I got so many different nerd stuff that I have to actually put up. I've got a Black Adam statue, and I've got a whole bunch of Funko Pops to put up, and I got this dope I mean not Black Lightning, this dope Static Shock that Chris got me that I got to put up too. So
Mm.
I have them out, but I want to display them. So I got to find better shelves too because I also got some Gundams for like Christmas and stuff that I want to like actually display in like a fighting scene. So yeah.
Oh, cool, cool.
Okay. So going back to the fighting games, and then talking about the arcade again. Yeah. So I brought up the
Excuse me.
arcade too because I played a lot more fighting games in the arcade than I did at home at first. And it wasn't just because, oh, they were in the arcade versus being on the console system. I think I played better with the sticks, standing up with the 6 buttons, and having my hand. And it's so funny because I saw someone who's really good at the game do it this way. Instead of having my hand facing downward towards the deck, I actually faced it upwards to, like, my face and had my knuckles between the sticks, and that actually helped me do a lot of the fighting moves, like, the special moves better.
Oh, wow.
But I couldn't do that. I couldn't recreate that on, like, how when Nintendo came out with the arcade stick and the different other consoles came out with the arcade stick, I
Hmm.
could never recreate that, and I don't know if it's because I wasn't standing, like, I would have to actually do a standing rig or something, but I could never do that, so I was always horrible at doing the special moves, at home versus in the arcade. If you get me in the arcade, I could actually hold my own for a very long time. When I was at home, depending on who I was playing against, I just couldn't keep up. But I mean, I could actually make it through the game itself, though.
Well,
So,
see, that's interesting because I'm the exact opposite.
hmm,
I was always great with Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all those fighting games. I was always great at home versus using the joystick. I can
yeah.
I can use that joystick to save my life.
Well, yeah, I don't understand what it was about it for me. But like I said, again, I wonder if I can actually do that now. I have to see if I can find an arcade to do that. But again, like I said, I watched a couple of different like regulars at Tilt play the game that way, and they just had like their hand was facing up. So and I just was like, man, that looks weird, and I was like, it's got to be uncomfortable. And one day I just decided to try it, and oh, I remember the game that it was on too, because I kept losing Marvel versus Capcom, and I kept losing, and I'm like, "Man, what is going on? Why do I keep losing?" So then, I just decided one day to try it that way, and then I started winning, and I started, having all these special moves come out and everything like that, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it this way." So,
Marvel vs. Capcom, boy,
yeah.
what a game.
Yeah, I know, right? So, but going back, did you know that they actually said the first video game to feature fist fighting was Heavyweight Champion? Well, Heavyweight Champ in 1976. So a lot of these fighting games actually they go back to just not like straight martial arts fighting. They actually the boxing games were considered fighting games back then because it is a fight going on, you know?
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we've been playing fighting games since Nintendo because
Hmm.
I know all of us have played, and most of our listeners who listened have probably played Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh yes, definitely
And
classic,
I
instant classic.
sucked at that. I sucked at that.
I
I don't even know if I ever got past King Hippo. I think
you
I
you
might
you
have.
you kidding me?
I think I might have. I might have. But like those last couple guys that run up to Mike Tyson,
Hmm.
yeah, they got progressively harder very quickly. And I can't remember. I'm almost positive I got past King Hippo. So yeah, I know I got past King Hippo. Who's the next one? Because I know I beat Bald Bull,
Hmm.
but I feel like there was one more person that I had to fight, and I did not get past them. I just can't remember who it was. But it.
Well, I'm gonna go down the line because that was that game that I beat. Of course, I beat Mike Tyson and all that good stuff. But
Mhm,
the guys that the runner ups before you get to Mike Tyson,
mhm,
um, so believe it or not, King Hippo, I
mhm.
had the hardest time with him because I couldn't figure out what his weakness was, and then you have to catch him right
Right.
before he throws that overhand, punch, you
Right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you got to hit him in the belly with a band aid,
Right.
where the
Exactly.
band aid's at.
Yep.
But once I got past him, I got past the ball bull. After I got past King Hippo, I was like, okay, I figured out a strategy for all these guys. Um, so the guys like Soda Popinski, the Sandman, and
Mhm.
Super Macho Man,
Mhm.
those guys, they were hard, but they were hard, but I beat those guys when I beat Tyson because Tyson just knocked you out with one hit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I know for a fact I didn't beat Tyson, um, because of like you said, the one hit and you're down. And I've watched. I had cousins that played. I want to almost say that my cousin Carl was perfect at that. I can't remember for sure. But it was like, it was a force with my brother, my cousin Carl, my cousin Leon, and I. We always, we were we were the gamers, like the four, like the four horsemen or whatever. We
Mm.
actually like a lot of these games that I talk about. The four of us actually played, and we were like tight like that. And I want to say for Mike Tyson's Punch Out, my cousin Carl was the best, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna actually hit him up and see if he remembers that. um, but I remember I sucked at it. I sucked when it came to past a certain point. So I'm almost want to say I beat Hippo, I beat Bald Bull, but then everyone else you named, I don't remember beating. Maybe Macho, maybe Super Macho Man. But I do remember that I used the code and I got past to Mike Tyson, after I used the code.
Mm.
And he still just one hit and I was down. I was like, man, this is nuts. I was like, I'm not trying this anymore.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. He
yeah.
used to beat my youngest brothers. He used to beat him all the time.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson used to knock him out. He couldn't get how I beat him.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I said, well, just watch. You just gotta watch his moves and timing and all that good stuff. But
But you know how I
yeah,
am. We've already established that once I get to the end of a game and if it's too hard and not like too annoying for me to beat, I just give up. Again, since that's what happened with me and Mario Brothers. So
okay, well, yeah, you never beat the Ninja Turtle game on the NES,
no,
did?
actually, so I beat that one. But you know how I beat it? I beat it with the with the
Game
Game
Genie.
Genie. Game Genie.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
think we covered that
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
was the Game Genie. Yeah. Yeah,
I beat
yeah.
it without Game Genie. Believe it
Yeah,
or not.
and then you burned it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. We do a
But
little reminiscing, ladies and gentlemen. So,
yeah, yeah. So,
yeah, I
but
did burn
yeah,
it.
so bringing it back. A lot of these fighting games, there was a couple different other ones that ended up after a lot of these straight boxing games. They started doing some martial arts ones,
Mm,
but in the early '90s is when it really took off. It's saying Street Fighter actually came out in '87, the original Street Fighter,
mm.
and '91 was Street Fighter 2. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? So, yeah,
That was a big gap.
that was
Yeah.
yeah, and that's basically That's around the time that you and I met, actually. 91, 92.
Mhm.
No, 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 no. We met in 6th grade, so it was way earlier than that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
91 was actually 8th grade for us. Yeah, 91 was 8th grade. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was in Huntington at that time,
yeah, yeah.
and you
So,
guys were still in Hines, if I'm not mistaken.
correct. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, that's when Street Fighter 2 came out, and actually, excuse me, ironically, I just watched a Netflix documentary about video gaming. I really wish I could remember the name of the documentary, but the the what it described basically all the history of all video games that are like pop culture video games and stuff. And they actually did a section on Street Fighter, and they actually talked about the different people who they like modeled these characters after, and how they went to different places just so they can get the scenery, and it was so dope. If I can remember, I will post it up on Instagram and Facebook, the Netflix documentary, so you could check it out.
Mhm.
I just got to look and see. I just cannot remember right now for the life of me. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, Street Fighter 2 had some of the I don't want to even say craziest characters, because honestly, after Street Fighter 2, it just got crazier from there. But they had some of the dopest characters.
Oh yeah.
Everyone knows the story. You're playing. Well, it's so funny too, because in Street Fighter you only get to play Ryu or Ken, but in Street Fighter 2 you actually play more characters.
Mhm. All the
And
characters.
yeah, you get
It's
to play everybody.
mhm.
The original one that came out, I remember that you couldn't play the last 4 when it first came out, but later
Mhm.
on, I think, they ended up allowing you to play the last 4 people, Bison, Barlog,
Sagat.
Vega, and Sagat. Yeah, Vega and
Yep.
Sagat. I might be misreading that. That might have been the arcade that where you couldn't play them at first. I think that's what it was. But anyway, Street Fighter 2 came out 91, and it just blew everybody's minds. Do you remember the first time you actually played that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the first time I played it, man, I was getting my butt handed to me. That computer, other because I didn't figure out how to block or any of that stuff. I
Mhm,
was just trying to just fight, you know. But I realized, by playing it, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to block. I'm gonna have to, think of some type of strategy or,
mhm,
or something like that. But that's when when you first start playing fighting games. But
mhm,
that was my first fighting game. You
mhm,
learn all that stuff, and then you
yeah.
good at all the other fighting games that come after that. So
So, when you first started playing Street Fighter, who was your first pick that you will remember?
Ryu is my favorite character. He was my first pick.
So, do you remember him being your first pick, or, like, for sure, or
Yeah,
or you just
for
know?
sure,
Okay,
for sure,
okay.
he was my guy.
So,
And
go ahead.
I lost a lot of battles with him, but after I mastered him,
Mhm,
after I mastered that character,
mhm.
I used to clean the house. I used to clean house. I used to play Street Fighter 2 at level 7 because you could pick the difficulties,
Yeah, yep.
and I
Mhm.
used to use 7 stars and
Yeah.
just wipe the floor with you.
So, it's funny with me. I think, like most people, I started out with Ryu, and I didn't do well with him. Then I tried Ken and didn't do well with him. And then I think I tried Guile, and I couldn't do well with him either. And that the fourth person that I tried was Chun Li. And when I tried Chun Li, that's when, because I think she was a little bit like, she was made easier so people can actually use her easier. I don't know, but something about Chun Li was, it just seemed like the controls were easier from the console.
Mm,
Later on, when I started playing it more in the arcade, I got excellent with Ryu and Ken. Mostly Ken, because Ken, like, I don't know, something about Ken was a little bit more brutal than Ryu for me. Ryu had like a little bit more finesse, it seemed like. It's so funny too, because there was times, being like the youngest, I actually was like, all I did was play video games at the house while, the older two were doing different things. So there would be times where I'd be playing Street Fighter for hours, amongst other games too. But Street Fighter, once we got Street Fighter, I played it for hours. And um I remember, I for a while I kind of set myself, I think it was the summertime. I set myself that I wanted to actually learn to play every character, and I almost did. There was like
Mm,
maybe 2 or 3 that I just could not get down pat, and after that, I was like, "Well, you know what? I'm not that stressed about it," you know? But I
yeah,
learned how to play a lot of them. I think it was Blanca was one that I couldn't play because, like, you do the easy moves and that's it, but I wanted to learn how to actually, like, do regular punches and kicks,
mhm.
because like I said, with as far as special moves on the console, I wasn't that well on the console with special moves. So, how are you with special moves actually?
I'm great at special moves.
Mhm.
Um, with every character when I was playing Street Fighter, I just wanted to, it was I wanted to see everybody's ending, because I was just curious to see what everybody's ending was. That's the only reason why I used every character. I wasn't
Mhm.
really interested in any other. There were I had some favorites like I will use Guile.
Mhm.
I really liked his style. Or I will use believe it or not, for the wrestling moves, I will use, of course, Zangief.
Mhm.
So
I
Zangief,
loved using yeah, I loved using him. He was actually really dope too. Once I actually
yeah.
learned to use him, I was happy about it.
Now there was one move that one move that I could never get down, and that was that when he grabs
Swinging
you and
fist? Oh, no, no, no. Oh, yeah, the
when he
twist.
grabs you and jumps in the air and comes
Right.
down with a
Yeah.
pile driver.
Yeah.
I could never get that spinning pile driver move down to save my life, but
I That one I could only do by accident. Somehow, like, when I start button mashing, I could get it down. I don't know what I would do. I still to this day do not know how I could do it, on purpose, but then, like, if I start panicking and I go ahead and start button mashing, then, yeah,
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay, yeah, I got it locked down." Yeah, but it's funny too because another, character that I learned to use, was Vega. And
Yeah, Vegas.
Vega, like he was when you play against him, he was one of the most frustrating, if not the most
Oh my
frustrating.
gosh.
You
when
know?
when I when I first started, trying to beat it with Ryu, being that Ryu was my first character, and I first started trying to beat it. He was the most annoying
Mhm.
character in the. I said, this guy is just annoying,
Yeah, yeah.
jumping all over the place.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right, so that's Street Fighter. I don't want to hold off too long on Street Fighter because we could probably go along like a long time because of how many it came out and like Street Fighter Alpha. I remember getting Street Fighter Alpha for the PlayStation 1, I think. I think it was the PS1 is when
Oh
it came
wow.
out.
I
Um,
remember Super Street Fighter 2,
yeah.
when it came out, on the consoles, and
Yeah, I
I was
do
like,
remember that.
oh my god, Super Street Fighter 2 was
Because the
you had
speed
the
on
new
that.
characters. Yeah,
Yeah.
you had well, you had Street Fighter 2 Turbo,
Mhm.
and that was the speed one.
That was the
You
speed
know,
one. Okay.
yeah, you had Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and then you had Super Street Fighter 2, and
Mhm.
then you had Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, Super Street Fighter, the one that had actually came out with other characters, more characters. Um, who were some of the characters that actually came out with that one? The extra characters.
so what were the extra characters?
Mhm.
Uh,
Because that was the
well,
one that
you,
had like DJ, and
yep,
actually that was the first time Cammy showed up too, right?
yep, yep. Fei
Um,
Long
Fei
and
Long,
uh
yeah,
and T
okay,
Hawk,
yep, I remember that
the big
now.
Indian guy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, because he actually it felt like playing him actually felt like playing Zangief again.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Big
yeah,
guy. He had a weird style, you know.
yes, yeah, but it actually had a lot more, and I think there was DJ. he had that he had the capoeira style, right?
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
kickboxing style.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I do remember that one now. At first though, it I guess everything kind of jumbled together because of playing so long. But yeah, it was DJ, Fei Long, Cammy, and T Hawk. Those were the only ones that came out um for that at that time. And then the other
hmm
one, some more came out later on down the line. Charlie did not come out until later. So yeah. Okay. Now Street Fighter was pretty much the number one fighting game that most people remember playing or starting off with. Most people our age, I should say. Um, you know, as time went along, more fighting games, of course, came out trying to cash in on the Street Fighter success. However, though, the number one that actually put up against Street Fighter and actually gave Street Fighter runs for his money starting out was Mortal Kombat.
Mm,
And
yeah.
now you're still and okay, just in the interest of, sharing information here, I personally have kind of backed away from playing fighting games. The last fighting game that I remember playing, shame on me, is Injustice. I actually played that with my daughter. And she's been begging me to play again recently. I need to get in there and probably go ahead and play a couple times. But she loves that game. I don't understand it, but she loves it. So I mean, I can't say I don't understand it. I understand it because I love fighting games, but that specific one. Maybe it's because that's when we first started playing, like, I don't know, because we used to actually, like, play on that for a while. But
Mm,
anyway, so, in interest information, though, I haven't though that's the game that I've played. Mortal Kombat is that to Mortal Kombat what now, Black?
Mortal Kombat 1, because they redid the whole. It's like they're going back to the whole start of Mortal Kombat
Mhm.
all over again. So they're calling it Mortal Kombat 1.
Okay.
You know. Uh.
So, they're rebooting Mortal Kombat, but
Mhm.
the last Mortal Kombat I remember playing I'm trying to remember, I don't know if I've ever played it on any of the newer gen systems past PlayStation. And I mean PS1. I can't remember. I might have, but I don't remember, honestly. I really don't. So, you know what? I'm almost positive I played it on a PS2. And I played one of the newer ones on the PS2 because um, my nephew's dad, he actually was a big fighting game player too. And he had a lot of the like he had Mortal Kombat's and like when fighting games came out, he played it. So either way though, this is where I let Black take over talking about fighting games because Black still plays and likes fighting games way more than I do. I still like them, but again, if a game frustrates me too much, I step away from it. And fighting games, they frustrated me. So I didn't want to break controllers. Once I realized how much controllers cost, I stopped doing that behavior. So Black, go ahead and give us a rundown on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. So Mortal Kombat, the original one, uh, the one that came back out in there, I believe it was the early '90s. Don't know the exact date, but the original Mortal Kombat, I actually played it on Super NES,
Mhm.
but it originated in arcade, of course.
Yeah.
You know, and
1992 is when the original.
1992.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I knew it was the early '90s. So I remember playing it. I remember playing it for the Super NES, and I remember the versions were different versus the Sega Genesis and the Super NES because Sega Genesis actually had blood and the Super NES didn't. They just had sweat. It was annoying. And I'm like, yo, how you gonna punch the sweat off somebody? But
Mhm,
it was crazy. But going back to the game, um, my favorite character, of course, at first was Raiden, but I realized in Mortal Kombat, I'm treating it sort of like Star Wars.
mhm.
With Star Wars, it's always like the villains and anti-heroes that catch my eye, that interest me. So
Pause for a second.
Reptile,
I thought you
yeah,
I thought you're not a Star Wars fan though. You just like Darth Vader, right?
I'm a Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars.
Adjacent fan?
I'm sort of like, Darth Vader is the real reason why I watch it, but I do
Gotcha.
like the sort of like the anti-heroes like Boba Fett, and
Okay.
I don't know if you can call him an anti-hero, but he's a bounty hunter. But he's not exactly on the good side. He just capture whoever, if it's his bounty. But like Boba Fett and stuff, and who else? Darth
Gotcha.
Maul,
Okay.
guys
Okay.
like that.
We gotta
You
go
know,
into some stuff. I gotta show you some stuff, man. You gotta look at some stuff. But anyway, we'll get
yeah,
back
yeah,
to that
yeah.
later.
Yeah. I knew I'd get you riled up with that one, but but going back to Mortal Kombat, Yeah, so I like the sort of like the anti-hero slash bad guys on Mortal Kombat more than I like, the good guys. So I've always liked playing as Reptile. He
Mhm,
was one of my favorites. And in the original Mortal Kombat, he was like a secret character. You know,
mhm, mhm,
Reptile didn't appear as part of the lineup who you chose until Mortal Kombat 2.
mhm,
Which I bought on the Super NES as well. But I started out using Rain at first. you know. Uh,
mhm,
but then Scorpion and Sub Zero. I'm a big ninja guy. You know what I'm saying? So I've always liked ninjas. So the fact that they had Scorpion and Sub Zero in that game,
mhm, mhm.
that's all I would pick. And those guys were no joke.
But before I actually considered doing cosplay, like as cosplay, I've always loved Halloween. So this place I used to work at every year they had Halloween. Matter of fact, this is the place that I actually had the show enough costume made for. One of the years that we did a costume contest, actually I dressed up as Raiden for that year. So yeah, I actually had a kung fu gi from, when I took some karate classes in college, but, um, I just tried my best to look like the character from the video game. So, I just remember it because I remember the character, and I remember playing a character, and like you said, he seemed like he was one of the easier ones to start out with too, you know?
Mm.
Um, and I think after learning from Street Fighter I tried to find the easiest character to start with first. So I like when I started on Mortal Kombat, I actually went through and I actually, kind of tested which characters were easiest to actually get their special moves first. And for me, that was Raiden to get more of his special moves. But something I noticed that I remember in Mortal Kombat is their special moves weren't nothing to get down. It was, like, really easy to get their special moves down. It's their fatalities or their animalities or their friendships. Those are so hard. Well, friendships didn't come out till later, so it doesn't matter. All that actually other stuff, animality, that didn't come out till later. The fatalities, though, the only one that was the easiest me for fatality for me to do back in the day, I think, that I remember was, Scorpion. His
Mm.
fatality, and I don't remember what moves that was. It was real easy, but I remember I've done his fatality the most.
I remember his fatality, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And if I'm not mistaken, his fatality, the actual the actual button directions was back, back, down, back, Y. And you had to sort of stand a certain distance from the actual
That's
the actual
hilarious that
guy.
you remember that, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that sounds so familiar. It does sound so familiar, and you gotta do it, like, in quick succession and everything.
Yep,
I
exactly.
gotta look around because I don't know if I threw it out, but I have a book of all those stuff, that little codes and all the fatalities and all that somewhere around here that I used to keep it by my gaming system at the time,
Hmm.
and, I've kept it for years. It's really old, and I need to see if I can find that book. But it has all of that in there, like the different fatality moves and stuff like that for all the characters that I used to use. So that's pretty funny. Um, so the next one, Sub Zero. I don't know. I can't remember using him a lot because I think he was the harder of the two ninjas. That when it
Hmm.
when it started out, he was the harder of the two to use. So. But ironically though, Sonya Blade, she wasn't hard, but she wasn't as easy as like Chun-Li was to use. Like they made her harder than Chun-Li, you know?
Hmm.
So I didn't use her fairly often. Um, but their fatalities, man, some of their fatalities, like just starting out, for 1992, we're kids and we're seeing this, like, somebody's head getting ripped off, somebody else
Yeah.
getting lit on fire,
Yep.
another person's heart being ripped out of their chest. That was some that was some pretty intense stuff for these kids, Think about it. This is 92, so we're in 8th grade. So what are we? We're
Hmm.
like 14 around that time, 13,
Yeah.
14 years old.
Somewhere around there. Yep.
Yeah, and we're seeing, you know, somebody looking at their beating chest and throwing it up in the air, it's just that is crazy.
Yeah,
that is truly crazy.
here's the crazy thing about that. I remember I remember I remember turning on Mortal Kombat and I would turn it on really, really low. And the guys out at the bus stop, because the bus stop was like right outside my door,
Mhm.
you know, right on the corner.
Yeah.
And my friends from the neighborhood, they would come over like, man, let me see one of those fatalities, man. I said, I'm gonna show you real quick for the bus come. And I remember doing Sub Zero's fatality. You know, he freezes the guy,
Mhm.
backflips, freezes the
Mhm.
guy, front flips, and then and breaks it, and the whole guy, the front, the torso on up
Mhm.
shatters.
Yeah. Yep, and all that's left is a leg wobbling
Yeah,
and fall down.
yep, all that's left is his legs.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
that's man crazy. I mean, it is hilarious, you know, because I do remember that they had some things where it was like some kind of like parents union and stuff like that, and um, it's people who was just like, oh my gosh, this is too violent for kids and all that. The kids of our generation is a different breed from the kids now. The kids now, and I'm not trying to get into like a whole political topic because I hate politics, but
Right.
the kids now, I don't understand. They're a different breed. Like, we'll see stuff like that, and we didn't care. We was like, whatever. We know we're not going to really rip somebody's head off. We're not really going to set somebody on fire. But the
Uh-huh.
kids now, it's like, oh man, I probably can do that, and they would like try to really set somebody on fire. It's like, dude, no, that's just a video game. Put it down. Don't do that. You know. So it's just crazy that our generation is the one that actually had parents, uh, getting out in the street, taking the kids' games and rolling over it with the steamroller and stuff. That's just that was a crazy time, man. Really
Mm.
crazy. But either way, though, Mortal Kombat, its history is so rich because of what it did for the fighting game, um, genre, and after Mortal Kombat, so many other ones came out. So behind Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, what's the next fighting game in your mind that comes out?
I would say um, the next fighting game that comes out uh, and after Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat,
Well, I don't
I,
wanna say come out, I should say that comes up in your brain,
that comes up.
yeah, yeah, like, what's the next game that you actually think of?
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct, that was a good one, and you know what? I'm looking at a list here that I made. I didn't even remember Killer Instinct 'cause,
Yeah.
um 'cause I actually was trying to find a name, which I actually did find it, of the fighting game that I had mentioned before that my brother had um, on the Sega Genesis.
Mm.
So, I'll bring that up in a little bit, but Killer Instinct, that one was nuts. Like, oh, what was the boxer's name? TJ. It and you know what's funny? A lot of these fighting games, they actually had a boxer character in there. They actually had a actual, like, physical boxer character. So, that was kinda funny they actually had it. But, Killer Instinct, that just the different things. I think the guy's name I'm thinking of is TJ Combo. Was that the
Yeah,
guy? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That was the boxing guy.
Oh my gosh, his combo was crazy off the charts. Like, once you actually start going, like, just taking it to him, whatever. I mean, all of them did this. All of them, like, once you actually start doing their combos, because um, the major combos, I believe it kinda started with Killer Instinct, like, all the major adding on combos, all the different hits that you do. Like, all those other ones did have a little bit of a element of that, but the massive combo and the different things you do to end the player, the other
Hmm.
the opposing player, so much different when it came to Killer Instinct. So much
Yeah.
different, you
It,
know?
it, it that well, I believe they called it what, when you're about to finish off the phone, they called it you could do an ultra combo.
Mhm. Yeah,
And they
yeah.
had different combos, like killer combos, and like I think that's a 10 hit combo or something like
Mhm.
that. You know,
Yeah.
blaster combos and stuff like that. But that's the first game that pieced together combinations like no other game.
Yes, yes.
And graphically at that time, it was using the Rare engine, which was spectacular at
Mhm.
that time. You know,
Yes.
and the graphics were pretty awesome too.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. It was the graphics on that was just, chef's kiss because, like, coming from Street Fighter, Street the and this goes to say, I if I sound like I'm downing any of the other ones, no, all of these have a special place in my heart because of what they did, and how many hours that I've put into each one of these games. So, but this one, Killer Instinct, like it just took what Street Fighter did and just like put it on like super hyper mode, and
Mhm.
the graphics for it too. Oh my gosh, So it's uh Killer Instinct was actually released in the arcades in '94. And then later on it was Super Nintendo and the Game Boy in '95. So, that was when we were in high school was when all this
Mm.
was released.
Oh
So,
yeah,
Killer Instinct
oh yeah.
2, '96. That was the year I graduated, and matter of fact, that's what I was trying to figure out. That is when I bought my first Super Nintendo, my first new Super Nintendo. Um, I
Oh
believe
wow.
we had a Super
Mhm.
Nintendo before that as a family, but I cannot remember. But I do remember that the Super Nintendo that I bought that was mine, was I bought the Killer Instinct 2 pack, and that was off the chain. So, I remember playing that game because I didn't have a lot of games. As a matter of fact, to this day, I think when I had the Super Nintendo of my own, I probably had a total of like 10 games. Because back then if you weren't making money, then, it wasn't that
Yeah.
easy to get games, like even used
Mhm.
games and stuff, back in the day. So
Yeah. Back then, it was like even you know games that just came out, they were still like $50. They were like $50 back then. $50 back then when you were a kid, that's a lot of
yeah,
money.
exactly, exactly. So, but yeah, and then and it's looking like Killer Instinct Gold actually was released for the Nintendo 64. So
Mm.
yeah, they actually have a reboot of Killer Instinct that came out in 2013. Did you play that? That it came out on the
Uh.
Xbox One.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
played it?
I played that.
Okay, how
Yeah.
was it?
It was all right. It was pretty good, believe it or not.
Hmm.
When they rebooted it, and they still, they're still updating it to this day. You know,
I might have to check that out
and
because
character, yeah,
I'm
it's
sure
pretty
it's on
good.
on Game Pass, so I might have to
Yeah,
download
yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
It's
Yeah.
definitely on Game Pass. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of Game Pass, I'm gonna have a little off uh real quick. I'm gonna get off subject for a second. I gotta get you on Grand Theft Auto online now. So my daughter, her boyfriend, and I have been playing again. We just got back into playing it, and
Mm,
it's actually pretty fun. Like, I want to go into this later on after you play it, but
mm,
like we just played these drug missions,
mm.
and man, the drug missions were crazy, dude. Like there was one point where you had to survive a trip, so the person was on some kind of acid, and
Mm.
you actually had to like go through, and at one point you're like fighting aliens, and you're fighting through like a tunnel, you're driving through a tunnel in a go-kart, and it's
What
like
the world?
a rainbow tunnel of stuff like different colors or whatever,
Hmm.
and then like halfway through when you're on the go-kart, the directions change. So if you're driving forward, you're actually driving backwards. So if your stick is driving in the forward position, you're actually driving in the reverse position. So you actually have to a stick, but your triggers. So you actually have to switch the way you use your triggers and your directions.
What the
So,
world?
yeah, it's that wild. And then another point where you go through the after you get through another one of those tunnels, you land and like you're in colonial clothing, but you're in the field, like somewhere in the field, and like you have to chase a rabbit and you got to shoot him with a colonial gun. It's hilarious. So
What the?
I I've got to get you on Grand Theft Auto Online, but we have to finish Gears 3 first. We
Yeah,
gotta do
yeah,
that. So,
no doubt.
this week, if you are available Thursday, and I'm not doing anything Thursday, I think. I gotta double check. I have to double check my schedule. But if not, I'm saying it on the podcast. If this Thursday, if you're not doing anything and I'm not doing anything, then I want us to hop on Gears 3 so we can at least get through and get on the island and you can actually see the island. Once you get on the island, you're gonna want to finish it. The island is actually pretty fun. So,
Uh,
and I think you're already further than you were before, correct?
what you talk about on the
On Gears 3?
uh oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. See, so yeah, I got to get you to get on the island. Once you get on the island, though, that's I mean, because that's the end of it. But yeah, you're gonna want to finish it because actually see some stuff on that island. You find out some stuff, and it adds so much to the whole Gears story. So yeah, that's the main reason why I keep pushing for you to actually finish that game because that's kind of a key context clue of the story. So, but anyway, all right, back to fighting games. Sorry, sorry for the little
Oh,
break, everyone. Um,
oh no.
but we'll probably finish up fighting games in this one and do split this into two episodes because I'm probably going to come up on time. But let's go and finish up on Killer Instinct. So um playing recently, um, it was released by Rare, so that's actually, yeah, Rare Replays like, oh, no, that's something else. That's it. But Rare is the name of the company that released it. Yep, the creators. So, um, and it was actually published by Midway, which was the ones who did, Mortal Kombat. So originally in
Yep.
94 through 96 in the arcade versions. Anyway, um, so next up, give me another fighting game that comes to mind.
Let's see here. I will have to say, uh, Tekken was a Tekken was a big in the arcade.
Tekken was huge, so huge, and I love Tekken. Tekken was another one that I played with my nephew's dad, and we played the heck out of that game because um Tekken was a different type of gameplay. It
Yep.
was and it was just it was so smooth, and doing the combos for that, they were hard, but they weren't.
Mm,
So, I actually did more Tekken combos. I don't remember a lot of the finishing moves because the combos were so easy to do that I was just, like, taking combos. I was just, like, hitting them. Boom, 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 and you could actually take somebody out with the uh, right connection of combos. So,
yeah, especially Paul and that Paul punch.
yeah,
It would take like half the person's bar with that Paul punch.
yeah, yeah, and going back to all these games, the storylines on some of these games are so good. With Tekken,
Yeah.
the storyline was actually a really good storyline, and I believe that one is that the one where the dude, like, dads ends up turning into, a devil?
Yep.
Correct? Yeah, yep. So, Tekken's storyline was so good, so good, and I kinda wish I had played it more, and it makes me want to play it, but, I mean, I'm probably not, but if I can get a different emulator on my PSP, I might pull it up because I've actually, since we decided we were gonna talk about this, I actually pulled up a couple of different other games that I'm probably gonna talk about in the next episode. Um and I've tried playing these games, and it's so much different and a little bit harder on the PSP that I would actually probably have to go back or see if I can get it on like actually Xbox because I'm so used to the Xbox gaming that trying to do the controls with that is just hard. All right. Well, before we actually get into another one, I'm gonna go ahead and split this here and we want y'all to come back. So this one episode is probably gonna come out at the end of August. I'm probably gonna cut it and then it can come out like tomorrow most likely. But this one's gonna be on the end of August. Then the first one in September is gonna be the next episode. Um, please come back. Check us out. I'm gonna get into a couple of other ones, and then the one that I was talking about that was the Sega Genesis. I'm gonna talk about that one a little bit. One that was my one that my brother has, and he probably still has it because I think he still has this Genesis and his old games. So I have to find that out. But until the next one, um, please like and subscribe us. Ah, tongue tied right there. Please like and subscribe on we got Instagram, we got Facebook page. On Instagram, it's Told My Wife Podcast. Um, Facebook, just look up I Told My Wife I'm Paying Bills. If you want to email us, it's toldmywifepodcast@gmail.com. We got a whole link tree. If you find us on Instagram, hit our link tree up, and that can actually tell you all the different. We're on most streaming podcast platforms now, so you can any one of your preferred podcast platforms you can find us on. All right. Um, but until the next episode, we want to say thanks for holding on, thanks for listening, and we'll be coming back on them. But until then, I'm Slim.
And I'm black.
And we wanted to say thanks again for listening. All right. Happy gaming, everyone.